All right, guys. Say you made a career off of exposing snitches and, just general telling, just telltale truth tellers, right? And then you're exposed by a document that is years old later. Think that's fair?
I guess he would be an expert on that if they expose the document. So maybe it's just like pulling up somebody's university credentials. Like, why do you know so much about this? Well, here's my receipts.
Well, 1090 Jake finds himself in some hot water after a grievance is leaked. And it wasn't really leaked. He put a video out on it, I believe, about 4 to 5 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not information that hasn't been out there, but lately he's been stirring some controversy over the Boston Richie situation, because Boston Richie mentioned some people. They never got arrested or anything like that, but he was in an interrogation room and he did mention some people. And his stance on Young and Ace when he was in an interrogation room, he said he maybe talked too much, but he didn't classify it as snitching. So people were kind of like, you keep moving the goalpost based on the person or whatever. Me personally, just to be transparent, I like what 1090 Jake does. I'm a fan personally, but I do feel that he needs to hold people to the same standard that he holds himself to. So next question is a grievance the same as a criminal complaint in y'all's opinion?
From what I could find reading about a grievance is it's not necessarily snitching or telling, it's filing a complaint with the prison, and that can be over the quality of food. It could be the way the shower pressure is. It can be that the way the officers are treating other inmates. I think that the context of this one is a little different, but generally speaking, a grievance isn't necessarily snitching. It's that would be like making a complaint about another prisoner would be snitching. Be like, this guy came and did something to me.
See, so where the people are having a problem with is he names a other inmate that had hit him in the head with a sock that had a rock in it. And that's where people are kind of getting like a little into the murky water on this, and they're just kind of questioning why he's not considering himself a snitch in this situation, because he did kind of come at Kodak too for writing a grievance against officers.
Speaking on Kodak, you made a video dissing me saying I'm snitching for talking about the lyrics that somebody lost their bitch to 6ix9ine. And apparently it wasn't Anwell whose bitch was in the video. Apparently it was somebody else. But staying on the lyrics, it says you a one-man army. You ain't never need a click. But I wanted to interview you about how when you was a one-man army in the feds, you were rocking behind the Bloods. And then you just did a song with the biggest rat that ratted on the Bloods.
Is that for like protection? These ain't that big across America.
Now, I didn't even say nothing about this dude saying that you was in protective custody in the feds and you never even hit the yacht in Big Sandy. I didn't even talk about that. But there's a lot of people that would hit me up after the video I did on you saying they was there at that time and you never touched that yacht. And you saying that breaking down who the one is that lost his girl to a snitch is snitching, even though there ain't no crime involved. Is this snitching? Writing a lawsuit the second you get to a prison saying that you getting beat by the COs because you don't want to be at that prison and you was allegedly on PC at this is that snitching? Is it snitching when you name drop the COs that are supposedly killing you slowly, doing all type of shit towards you? Is that snitching? Because I mean, I don't know, maybe that ain't snitching. I know this ain't snitching, but one of these two things can actually result in somebody getting arrested.
Which is another reason why this puts him in a weird situation, because it's kind of the pot calling the kettle black, you know?
I would say it is definitely a situation of the pot calling the kettle black, but I also see it from his perspective where the point of the grievance wasn't him being hit in the head with a rock. That was the context around the situation of the officers beating the shit out of like 4 or 5 different inmates. And in order to get that information out, you had to obviously build the context of the situation that happened before that.
Okay.
Now, the part where I would say it is snitching is that he wrote down names. Now, that might be required in order to verify the complaint against the officers. But I also take the position that just because you make your platform on exposing people that are snitches, that doesn't mean you yourself aren't necessarily prone to that unless you just constantly get on YouTube and say, hey, I'm not a snitch.
Yeah, and I mean, no one got in trouble as far as inmates go, as far as my knowledge goes on this situation. So that's another question to ask you guys. This for both of you, Shumba, Pickle. Do you guys think that if no one gets in trouble after you mention them, is it still snitching?
I think that at the end of the day, if what the grievance was for, if it ended up benefiting all the inmates, whether they were fighting each other or not. So let's say he did get smashed in the head with a rock and he had to bring up that fact in the grievance. But the grievance is about the officers beating the shit out of both of them, the assaulter and 1090 Jake, the assaultee, right? The one that got assaulted. At the end of the day, if he makes their lives in the prison easier, he's not necessarily snitching. He's altering their place within the prison. Now, if the guy with the rocket ended up catching some charges or having his sentence extended, then you can make the argument that he was a snitch.
So your argument is even if you give a name, if it doesn't result in consequences, it's not snitching, is your kind of stance on that then?
Somewhat. I think it has to have a positive outcome for all parties involved, whether you were the assaulter or the assaultee.
Okay. Shumba?
Honestly, in this situation, I don't necessarily think it was snitching, because the thing that he was writing a grievance for was that after he got hit in the head with a rock, that the officer had essentially said that everybody in that incident was actually going to get, in trouble for the whole thing, even though he was the victim. And he had told them that they had to write a very specific statement, and that's the way things were going to go. If they weren't willing to write that type of statement, that he would beat the shit out of them until they had to go to the hospital. So he really didn't have a choice, from what I'm seeing, at least just from the grievance that he wrote. So I wouldn't consider that snitching myself.
Well, me personally, I think that he's kind of like pigeonholed himself a little bit on this situation, because you can't move the goalpost back and forth, right? So by his standards, maybe snitching. I think if no consequences came, maybe it wasn't. I think if you're involved in the street life, it is best, though, to just avoid dropping names to COs, police officers, interrogators, et cetera, et cetera.
In response to that, I would like to point out that he was in confinement, and that solitary confinement can have an effect on the mind that's it's been shown that it's not good for you psychologically, mentally, and under enough pressure, if you only have one way out, to just hold yourself to a street code and not take your own personal health into accountability, because the man had spent a lot of time behind bars, and so to be alone on top of that, I think that adds a different element to it. But I do have to agree with you that it, by his own standards of definition, he is one. But I can't say that put in that same circumstance, I would do any different. I still think that he was ultimately, even though he did drop names, I think that he was trying to get a better outcome for all four individuals involved, regardless of how they felt about each other. They were kind of unified in it against the prison staff.
And that's fair enough. I mean, ultimately, I still am going to watch 1090 Jake, and I will kind of like, see how he gauges whether people are snitches or not. I think that the channel he has is unique. I do believe he's in a similar situation that Academics was in with the war in Chirac, where it's kind of just controversial and people are going to come at you once you stamp something and kind of look for flaws or ways out of it, or just, try to find the kink in your armor.
Well, do you think he needs to double down on his stance that he's not a snitch, or do you think
he's already doubled down? Yeah.
Do you think that's the best option for what's going on for him right now, just from your perspective?
Yeah, once you say it, you say it. I think that the best way to do this is to just double down. And I mean, I'm not a street dude, so I don't know. I mean, what's my opinion really worth? But at the same time, I think if no one got in trouble, I guess no harm, no foul. But if you're from the streets, my opinion, just probably keep other people's names out of paperwork and things like that, because you've made a career off exposing other people. But, I'm sure he didn't know that he was going to be doing that at this point in time. So, with all that being said, let us know down in the comments below. Do you guys think 1090 Jake is a snitch? Do you guys think that 1090 Jake is still the authority on who's snitching and who's not? Let us know down in the comments below. Are you still watching 1090 Jake? All right, guys. You hear a YouTuber, goes by EDP. You want to know what that stands for? Eat that pussy.
Jesus Christ.
Already, that's kind of a spicy name, for sure. You guys want to take a guess at what he's in some hot water for?
I'm guessing trying to eat that pussy.
Bro, what are you talking about, man?
Underage.
Right to jail, right away.
Yeah, this dude's a creep. Probably deserves to go ahead, hit him with the electric chair or lock him up for life. He's not going to change. He has created a cycle that just seems to keep on going and going and going, really. He got busted, I believe it was roughly 2 years ago, coincidentally by another man who has some very questionable allegations against him.
Yeah, it was Chet Goldstein, right?
Chet Goldstein, yes. And he's a whole different thing. We won't get too into him, but he has all kinds of allegations of being homophobic, racist comments, pedo-like activity. He's not a very good person himself.
But he did expose EDP.
But he did expose EDP for one of the first kind of big exposures, and that's where this cupcake meme came from.
All right. Go ahead. Well, I was actually coming out here to pick up a cupcake and then go back home. There was, nothing that was going to be sexual involved because I'm not like that. Well, obviously the text messages and stuff like that, you know what I mean?
I don't know, man. He just reminds me of a bad episode of Dateline. Like, he's just like every one of those guys. This is my first time. I never do this, but you seem to be getting caught in the same situation over and over again. Well, Jidion found out that he was grooming a 15-year-old. She's currently now 16 going on 17. Still creepy. In my opinion, that's still entirely too young. And I think by most U.S. states that is still too young and should not be anywhere entertained. There's no business he has talking to someone that young, nor does anyone that's like of legal age have any reason to be talking to someone that young. We actually have a couple text messages that we're going to read, some of the more questionable ones. Now, all of them are questionable. There was no excuse for him to be talking to this girl. And the audience should keep in mind, she's underage. She shouldn't have to know how to respond. So some of it might seem like she's egging him on, but we have to remember EDP's the adult in this situation, and this is like textbook grooming. So even if she's texting back things that aren't necessarily right, we shouldn't blame a literal child.
Yeah, and she does have some evidence to show that he threatened her. That's also in the text messages, and there's a video of that as well, where he says, "I'll shoot you if you say anything."
I mean, regardless of the situation, Kayla, I don't give a fuck. Like, she's like, "Oh, I'm gonna ruin your life." Well, if you think that you can ruin that bitch any more than what it's already been ruined, you go right the fuck ahead. Be my fucking guest, bitch. As a matter of fact, motherfucker, I'll get front row tickets to see this fucking shit, dude. You know what I mean? It's like, I really don't give a shit anymore. You know what I mean?
But I'm telling you right now, if you fuck me over, if this shit goes wrong in any fucking way, shape, or form,
give your soul to the Lord. Because your ass belongs to me.
Overall, it's disgusting, and I definitely think this guy should be put away. So anyways, I'll go ahead and pass it to you, Pickle. Go ahead and read a couple of these text messages to kind of give the audience a kind of idea into this sick man's mind, this cockroach.
So this is from EDP to the victim. "I know you're asleep, but I got to admit, since the day you messaged me, I've been dreaming about sliding my blank deep inside that fresh blank. Just f***ing away your innocence, showing you how a real man does it." Okay, so in this one, she states to him, "I'm monotone over text." EDP replies, "You're so effing hot. You know that? I'm literally leaking juices just thinking about you." She says, "Ha, how so? Tell me more." And he replies, "The way that ass looks in those leggings, you have a very fit body that I can't keep out of my head. Like I need you on top of me now. And that sexy ass Spanish/Latina accent is enough to make anyone blank. I've always wanted to be with a little emo girl, LOL."
Keep in mind, this is once again to a child. So EDP, crazy out of pocket, clearly didn't learn his first time. As far as I know, the courts are looking into this, but I don't believe he's been actually formally charged yet.
No, yeah, the courts are still in the process, I think, of either gathering everything they need in order to do the prosecution. But I don't think it's going to bode well, because when Jidion caught him, he kind of goes inside and sends the victim messages and,
Yeah.
you got me caught, you did this, you did that.
If you could guess, Bryant, why do you think we're here? Could you answer me that, Bryant? Bryant, don't be like this, Bryant. I just have a few questions. I want to know what this picture is of you with the makeup on. Do you recall this picture, Bryant? Bryant, can you look here? I just want to know what this is. Like, what in the actual is this? Bryant?
And then I think he did a whole reply video to Jidion.
I'm gonna cut straight to the fucking chase, man. You know what I mean? I'm talking about Jidion, right? This nigga decided to fly across country, tried to catch me in the act on some fucking bullshit. Motherfuckers tracked me down. Niggas stalked me. Niggas camped outside of my motherfucking dialysis center. The fact that you flew cross country, you feel me, to fuck with somebody, not to mention, nigga, this is my motherfucking dialysis center. This is life or fucking death, bro. Niggas don't understand that I need this fucking shit to live. I couldn't receive dialysis that fucking day because my blood pressure went straight through the fucking roof. Friend of mine decided to come on the fucking stream and decided to blow up my motherfucking Facebook Messenger. And he wanted me to address all this shit. You know what I mean? Oh, you should go get help. You should do this. You should do that. You know what I mean? You should address this publicly. You know, this and that. Maybe I don't want to address it publicly. Maybe this is something I'd rather handle up in a private manner, my nigga. Maybe this is something I don't want to fucking talk about. You call yourself a nigga, you call yourself a true friend? If you were a true fucking friend, you would understand and you would respect my wishes, as opposed to pinning me in a fucking corner and forcing me to talk about something I don't want to talk about. Oh, well, you should go get help. Oh, I just want to see you get better. Who's to say that I'm not already talking to somebody?
Let's think about this. Say you had a 1 million+ subscriber YouTube channel, right? We don't, we're just small guys. But say you had a 1 million+ subscriber YouTube channel. Are you risking that for, I mean, just to be a disgusting human being? Like, there's no way, you know? I mean, it's just...
I mean, we say that from our perspective, but like you said earlier, he's a repeat offender. There's clearly something wrong with him. And it's not something that can be fixed with time or therapy. You got to just separate him from the rest of the population.
Okay, so I have another question for you guys, a little follow-up. What do you guys think is fair punishment for these kind of disgusting human beings that prey on children? What do you think is the appropriate fix for this situation?
If you're asking me, isolated communities where they're only with other people that are like them, and
in like a prison, not like
in a place that's contained, but in a place where you can get work done out of them. Like, I don't want them to be taken care of by tax dollars. I want them to provide something like license plates or wallet. You know, I want them to all be making something.
Sir, you're describing a prison.
Well, yeah, I would like them in a prison where they're doing work to provide to the communities that they've harmed so much. I don't want it to be something, and that's the specific part, is I want them contained, but I want them to be pushing out products. Slave labor.
It's 25 cents an hour usually, I believe.
25 cents an hour.
Prison,
you know?
but yeah.
No TV,
so,
obviously no internet.
Oh, so stricter prison.
Stricter prison.
Shumba?
I think I'm going to line up with Pickled Landon here. If I had my way, I would prefer that every single pedophile out there just dead instantly. Just wipe them all off the planet because children need to be protected. At the same token, I don't think that anybody should have the right to just be like, yeah, I think you're this, you should die. So prison is really where my mind leans.
Now, are you guys thinking these should be life sentences then?
Yeah.
Without possibility of parole, just permanent?
Yep.
Cool. Okay, perfect. I mean, I kind of agree with that. I'd be cool with the death penalty, though, too, if I'm being totally honest. I mean, you can't repeat offend if you're dead, so that's cool with me, too. Maybe I'm a little more extreme on that. But EDP has just proven to us that he cannot re-enter the community without targeting these younger, underage girls that he just seems to fetishize. And
yeah, and the first message that he sent, it's always him reaching out to them. You know, he reaches out and says, "Hey, what's up?" It's never the other way around. He's a predator, and it's not like he's being hounded or stalked. He's looking for them and then initiating conversation with them,
attempting to use his little bit of clout he has in order to use some leverage. But another disgusting fact is the fact that one of the only social medias that's still housing him is TikTok. And I believe TikTok is one of the most underage apps, like social media apps out there. I think it just has the most kids on it, and that's rather alarming. I think TikTok needs to do something to kind of get him off there, get him canceled. I don't know if they've attempted to in the past, but they need to kind of try a little harder to get him off that app. I don't think any app should house them. Shout out to YouTube for taking him off completely. And, I mean, now he's working normal jobs, but, I mean, he is getting some karma because people will go to his jobs and harass him and stuff like that, which I don't think is unjust at all. I think, if you want to be a disgusting human being, you should be treated as a disgusting human being. So
it was kind of nice to hear the victim talk. She was talking about how he said he was homeless for 3 weeks and found a dirty mattress on the side of the road and was sleeping on it, and finally got an apartment and then drugged that dirty mattress to go sleep on at the apartment.
yeah.
So it looks like life's dealing him a little, and he's on dialysis. His kidneys are failing. That's where Jidion made the confrontation. And
shout out to Jidion for wearing that fat suit or whatever
he was dressed as a
wore to
cupcake. He was dressed up as a cupcake. I thought he was wearing a fat suit too. I thought he was just trying
As
to
a
match
cupcake?
body weight with what do they call him, diabeto or something like that.
Jidion's a legend for this one, I gotta say. Like, that MVP for sure. And to get this exposed, he was actually trying to hold back the exposing until the whole thing was said and done, which I also respect, because that's killer content right there. He's gonna get a few million views off the video once it finally does launch. But the victim came forth and he decided, I'm gonna put the clip out, like a little bit of it, just to kind of give him an idea. And you see EDP looking like a fat pregnant cockroach, just there, stinky as could ever be.
And then made that response video, just saying all the meanest things he could to Jidion, calling him epithets and all those other things.
The crazy part for me about all this is that it was multiple victims. The victim that came forward and actually spoke about this in the video, she had talked about multiple other underage women, or girls. I'm going to call them what they are. Girls were also being contacted and spoken to as well, and that he had nude pictures on his phone that he had them sent to him. So I really hope this court case actually goes through. I mean, he was going so far as to, with this specific victim that came forward while she was 15, he was waiting for her to turn 16 so that he could fly her out to, I think it was Nevada.
Yeah, Las Vegas, I believe.
Yeah, fly them out to Nevada so that, they could do the deed there because the age of consent is 16.
Disgusting.
I mean, what this man was doing was just out and out wrong. And it's in all of us as a society to really just shout down this kind of nonsense that happens, because we can't allow a corner for it to exist.
Yeah, can't give them a platform, anything like that. With that all being said, let us know what you guys think. Does EDP deserve a platform? Does this loser just need to rot in prison for the rest of his life? Could you guys even listen to a content creator that's doing this kind of stuff behind the scenes? Let us know down in the comments below. Don't forget to like and subscribe as well. With that being said, I'm Rugburn.
And I'm Pickled Landon.
And this is Tombstone Tourist.